I have been excited for this conversation for a couple of days here. Our buddy Matt George of the Locked On Kings podcast and ABC 10, kind enough to join us here. Matt, I know you got plenty to say. I'm going to get out your way, let you cook, and we'll have a conversation here.
Well, the first thing I want to say before I dive into what I kind of put together for a podcast and decided, you know what, this is good for D-Lo and KC. The first thing I want to say is I'm proud of y'all, like both of you, genuinely. For this is a crazy week here in Sacramento, and I'm just not just proud of the two of you. I'm proud of local journalism. I'm proud of Sacramento media members being all over this and doing their homework and ears to the ground, feet to the ground. All of us are technically quote unquote competition, but local media is so important. And trust me, working in the news scene, local media is under constant attack or constant cuts and hemorrhaging and less important. And I know national media, those people are incredible at what they do, unless they're talking about the Sacramento Kings because they don't usually watch. But I was just very, very proud and I was really excited by how you guys and Chris Biederman in Philadelphia and just go down the list of local media that has killed it this week. So I definitely wanted to say that. And of course it starts with you guys. So let me get that. I'll get that off my chest first because I'm proud of y'all.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
But for the real meat,
we are great. Just for the record, we are amazing.
For the real meat and potatoes of what I wanted to get to, I think most people know kind of how I feel about this Fox situation. I think losing De'Aaron Fox is not a disaster for this organization by any means. There are 100% routes that the Kings could go on in trading De'Aaron Fox that ultimately in the long run makes the Sacramento Kings better. So I don't think it's doom and gloom, end of the world if De'Aaron Fox is gone. And at this point in time, it just seems like it is, right? It just seems like it's happening. But De'Aaron Fox here, De'Aaron Fox gone, Mike Brown here, Mike Brown gone, Doug Christie doing what Doug Christie's doing. Ultimately, the problem to me is still here. And the problem to me is this Sacramento Kings front office. And I put together kind of a case against the Kings front office. And as I was like writing this and jotting down bullet points of everything that has happened really over the last 2 years, it just dawned on me, man, this is like, it was almost masked dysfunction because the team was at least sort of kind of fun and good and competing again. But I mean, you start from the very top. Now, I don't necessarily blame Monte McNair and Wes Wilcox for this. This is a Vivek Ranadive and ownership issue, but stability in an organization requires a clear understanding of roles and responsibilities, right? And we don't understand. We don't know. It is not clear at all who handles what in this front office, right? But one thing has been made, I think, perfectly clear, that your general manager, your main guy, if we're doing like The Rock, the final boss in the front office, Monte McNair, is not always the one making the decisions, is not always the one making the moves. It's Wes Wilcox was on the phone with this guy, or maybe Monty was involved with this guy. And I understand you have a front office team to bounce ideas off of each other, but ultimately they're supposed to fall under one general manager who makes the move, makes the call, and leads the charge. And it is a clear and obvious question if Monty is that guy and has been that guy and continues to be that guy with Wes Wilcox being here. And then you go through the last 2 years, right? And I'll try and make this as fast as I possibly can. But after making the playoffs, you went 2 years without addressing the fact that you're undersized at every position. And it was a problem that we knew existed even during the good times. When the Kings were in the playoffs, Beam Team 1, we knew, okay, this is fun. This team is scoring a lot of points. They suck defensively. They're undersized at almost every single position. You let two trade deadlines go past without doing anything while teams around you got better and acquired players that you could have used. The Mavs got PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford. The Suns got Royce O'Neal. The Pacers got Pascal Siakam. Now, I know the Kings were in the hunt for Pascal Siakam, but this is a results league. You didn't get the job done. You had your reasons why. The Pacers did. Look at the run they went on. The Knicks got OG Anunoby. The Knicks also got Josh Hart if you're going back to 2023, right? You have your unanimous coach of the year who, in my opinion, knows a whole hell of a lot more and has a whole hell of a lot more experience about winning titles and actually being successful in this league. And he's telling you what you need to win. He's telling you we need defense. We need to be, we need better defenders. We need these types of players. And the best that he got was Kessler Edwards and Jaden McDaniels, KZ Okpala. These were the best versions of the players outside of Keegan Murray that you gave him for what he was looking for. You sat on your hands at the deadline 2 years in a row. And then when you spoke to the media, that you being Monty McNair, he spoke out opposite of what Mike Brown was saying, right? He talked about our offense has to be better. It's our offense. Our offense should just be better. And lo and behold, what happened last season? The Kings got eliminated from the play-in because they lost 6 times to a team that directly pointed out your issues, directly pointed out your weakness: size, length, athleticism. You faced a team 6 times in one season that had that when you've been told and you know that you have that issue, and you failed to address it, and you got eliminated from the play-in because of it. You lost to a team 6 times. So you go into another offseason and you add DeMar DeRozan, which was freaking awesome. Love that move. Do not regret that move at all. You bring back Malik Monk, which is a grand slam of a move, in my opinion, especially for the money they brought. Malik Monk is the truth here. I think we can all agree on that. But ultimately, you got smaller. I know Harrison Barnes had his issues, but you replaced a 6'8", 6'9" guy with a 6'6" guy. You got smaller. And then, for the third time in 4 drafts, you selected a point guard when your best player and the guy you just re-signed are the ones holding down that position, holding down the point guard spot, holding down primary ball handler. 3 out of 4 drafts, you went out and got a guard. On top of that, it was a dude that had to have surgery and couldn't play for the first 3 months of a win-now season. So surprise, even with better overall talent, your team still had the same issues of struggling against length and physicality while not being able to defend the 3. It didn't just magically go away because you added more talent and more offensive ability. The only true forward that you have on this roster regressed this season offensively because he is the franchise's lone defender against any forward that your opponent has. And on top of that, he even takes primary defensive responsibilities against top guards like Steph Curry when he has to. So before addressing this lingering problem that's been around for years, that your coach, your eyes, the numbers, analytics are all saying exist, you fired your coach and made him take the fall for it. Then you hide like a coward. You don't address questions. You don't take questions on this the situation. You don't explain, one, why you made the decision. Even when Doug Christie's winning games for you, you don't explain why you made that decision. You do this canned interview that was, I thought, ridiculous. And you also didn't explain why you fired Mike Brown in one of the most disrespectful ways you could possibly do it. You hide. You don't do it, and instead you push, or you allow, rather. They didn't shove Fox in front of the media, but they allowed Fox to be the one to answer questions time and time again. They allowed Fox to wear the responsibility and be blamed for getting the coach fired that he was one of the few in the organization that was actually supporting. He was one of the guys that helped Mike Brown get that extension last summer that the Sacramento Kings, or that this Kings front office, like they do with a lot of things, dragged their feet on until they got publicly almost shamed into getting that deal done. So while you're going through this period of actively negotiating with Rich Paul, Clutch Sports, and De'Aaron Fox to try and keep the star around long-term, or at least exploring it, it's not a done deal yet. And you know your owner wants to keep Fox here. You let him go out and you let him wear all those responsibilities. Now you've continued to drag your feet and not get deals done to improve the roster when your interim head coach was working magic and quite literally, 1, buying you time, and 2, saving your ass. Like, I think Doug Christie was saving Monty McNair and Wes Wilcox. I thought things were going to completely fall apart. Doug Christie righted this ship. And I give him all the credit for it. And then, as the insider's James Ham reported, you had a trade of John Collins done to the point where you informed players and agents that it was going to happen. You then dragged your feet again because you wanted one last chance at a Cam Johnson trade, and a week later, the trade hasn't happened. Guys, the Kings' record over the last week, from January 23rd to today, January 30th, is 1-3. You don't think they could have used John Collins over these 4 games to help them out right now? They dragged their feet. They're losing because of it. Now we get to the Fox situation, because all of this really loosely has nothing to do with Fox leaving or not. Even if De'Aaron Fox wants to leave, and it seems like that's where he's at right now, right? He wants to leave. You've basically carried his bags to the door for him. I agree that the front office didn't do anything wrong by taking a phone call about Fox, having conversations. They're in their right to do so. And I also think it's good on them to inform Clutch, inform Rich Paul, hey, we had these conversations, right? Because the last thing you want is for Fox to get wind of this from someone in some other city. And now everybody's really pissed off. So I do think the front office was trying to get out in front of it. But like I've just laid out over the last however much I've been talking, and I apologize for that, you've done more than your fair share to show Fox that this organization is not trending in a stable, positive direction. Why do you think he wants to go to the Spurs? It's not just because of Victor Wembanyama. It's because that is a organization also located in a small, comfortable market that De'Aaron Fox clearly likes. He loves Sacramento for the fact that he can go out to dinner with his family and his wife and have a great time and not be hounded. He does not like the celebrity status that Steph Curry got when he went with him to China this offseason. That's not who Fox is. So small market San Antonio provides kind of that homely atmosphere. It's close to home for him in Texas. And on top of that, he's going to an organization that is not just well coached in Greg Popovich, but has a consistent history of stability and success. It makes a lot of sense for why he would want to go to San Antonio. I put out a poll a couple of hours ago of like asking fans, like, how much faith, how much confidence do you have in this front office to actually get a deal done? How much faith and confidence do you have in the Kings to the front office to handle this trade correctly for De'Aaron Fox? And I was expecting, look, Twitter, X, it always trends negative, plus the emotions of the situation. I was thinking, yeah, this is going to be probably majority negative. So I was going to say, like, if 30% of people who respond say, I trust the front office, I actually would have counted that as a win. Guys, I'm at like almost 2,500 votes. And just shy of 90% of people don't have faith in the front office to handle this correctly. So to me, the best course of action, this is what I would do if I were advising Vivek Ranadive, which of course I'm not because who listens to me? But if I were advising Vivek Ranadive, here's what I'd tell him to do. Keep De'Aaron Fox through the rest of the season. If he wants to have surgery on his hand and shut himself down, so be it. Keep De'Aaron Fox through the rest of the season. Do whatever you got to do at this trade deadline to try and get John Collins, Cam Johnson, whatever. Keep him through the rest of the season. Fire this front office by the summer if you don't want to do it midseason. Go out, go through the hiring process, hire somebody who you trust as your new basketball decision maker. Do not hire their competition as his or her assistant, and then trust them, give them the keys and say, make the decision on De'Aaron Fox. And of course, you can, as part of the interview process, talk to him about what you would do with Fox and whatnot. But if the writing is on the wall that Fox is gone, so be it. Bring someone in that we all can hopefully have more confidence in to make this move correctly. Because at this point, I'm thinking about the organization. I'm not thinking about Fox. I'm thinking about the long-term success of the Sacramento Kings. I don't trust Monty McNair, Wes Wilcox, whichever one of them is picking up the phone and making the phone call. I don't trust them to get this deal done correctly. And if the Kings get this deal wrong, we're looking right at another really long playoff drought because stars don't grow on trees here in Sacramento. And even if the Kings get 3 or 4 first-round picks for De'Aaron Fox in a trade, I know this isn't all on Monty or Wes, but last I've checked, Sacramento has a very bad track record in getting first-round picks, even to second contracts. De'Aaron Fox is one of a few that's been able to turn into a success story here in Sacramento. And now you're facing losing him. So that's it. That's my case against the front office. Sorry to take over the show, but that's where I'm at.
They said we should have put ether under it while Matt was talking. Great stuff, Matt. Very, very well laid out. I think there's a lot there. You said something that I think is actually really, really important that we probably, it's not as relevant to the De'Aaron Fox stuff, but it does speak to the overall issues that are plaguing this franchise. And the fact that Mike talked defense, and Monty McNair came out and did some sort of separate interview or, sit down at Summer League or whatever it was and pretty much contradicted that. Mike and the front office were absolutely not aligned. And while I'm confident this is out there, and I think I know all of us are aware of this. I don't know how much it's discussed. There are players Mike said no to. There are players that Mike said he didn't want. John Collins is one of them. And I was told there was a deal in place for John Collins during the offseason. And Mike said, I don't want him. The argument was he was a low IQ player. No, Casey knows this. I think Matt does as well. We've said it on this show before. Mike did not want Brandon Ingram here. So there are times where Kings fans or us talk about, what about this player? What about this player? It's not like these guys aren't discussed in the front office. It's not like, man, these guys are so dumb. It's right there on the wall. No, there are too many cooks in the kitchen. And speaking as someone who really likes to cook, everyone close to me will tell you, this is a great metaphor. Get the hell out of my kitchen when I'm cooking. I know you're trying to help by slicing the bread. I slice the bread in a particular way. Move. I know you want to measure, the amount of ingredients that go over here in this potato salad. I do it on field. Get out of my face. When you cook, you want to be the only one in the kitchen. This organization lets everybody season. No, you want raisins in the? Go ahead, throw the raisins in there, Wes. You don't want a barbecue flavor. You want a citrus flavor. Well, throw the citrus on the barbecue then. We'll just make it work. Too many cooks. True chefs, get out of my kitchen. One person in the kitchen. And that's what happens when you have too many people making decisions, is no one can come together on what the right decision is. And that's why we wonder why deals always fall apart at the end. I think that's part of the reason why. I was told there is still someone in this organization. I think I know who it is. There is still someone in this organization. Shout out Darius Garland, made the All-Star team. There are still people within this organization, and we'll break the bad news to you once it's official, that don't want John Collins here. Still, right now, it's obviously Mike's not here. There's still that within the organization right now. But who is the final decision maker? I have no idea, man. No clue. And I thought that was well laid out, Matt.
Thank you. KC?
Now let's all just sit here quiet.
I'm out of breath. I feel so bad. I feel like I just took over, but
Bro, you have 45 minutes every week for a reason, and that's a reason why. You could talk as much as you want to.
But I will say this
we'll give you the All-Star announcements as they're happening. Cade Cunningham made the All-Star team.
Congratulations, man.
Deserved.
First All-Star selection.
Very much deserved.
First of many.
Casey, I'll say this too. You've said a lot this week that I have actually disagreed with in some way, but like instinctually or impulsively disagreed with. And then you've laid it out, and as you've talked about it, like I think it's really well put too, especially like the concept of like, if he's gone, if he's going. This is where my perspective has changed, because at first it was like very much on Fox, kind of on Fox's side. If I were picking a side, I was on Fox's side, the belief that you've got to keep him, that the Kings were in the right. Now the perspective has to switch to the organization just has to do what's best for them. And
I'm sorry, Evan Mobley made the All-Star team.
Wow.
About right. First All-Star.
I did. I'm sorry. Cleveland's got 3 guys, right?
Yeah.
Wow, good for them. Wow, sorry. I did not. I was just gonna let the last one go. I didn't think it would be Evan Mobley.
Good for him.
Cade Cunningham, Pascal Siakam, Jaylen Brown, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, All-Star reserves for the Eastern Conference.
To sum up what I was going to say, though, Casey, the perspective just has to change at this point now. As much as anyone loves De'Aaron Fox, the perspective just has to change now to what is best for the organization. And here's where, like, if you're going to have to be the bad guy in this situation to do what's best for the organization, at this point, just do it. Like, just do it. If it's trading Fox now, do it. But my faith and confidence in the people making that decision right now is not very high, which is why I would let it run its course throughout the rest of this year. Maybe it's delaying the inevitable, but I don't have the faith in this front office to make the right decision with this, because they're not going to have to deal with the ramifications. They'll be fired. They'll be gone. Kings fans, the organization, they're going to still be here. And they're the ones that are going to have to deal with the ramifications. So at this point, it's the focus is what's best for the organization. And I truly feel, and I felt this way after the Mike Brown firing, a clean sweep, a fresh start. That's what's best. Not to blow up the roster, but the decision makers top to bottom in this organization start there. And hopefully Doug is still around too.
Shout out Tyler Hero. He really wanted to make the All-Star team today, and he did.
Right?
Yeah, he really wanted to make it. He was like, I'm anxious. Dame
awesome.
Lillard is the other reserve who made it for the Eastern Conference.
That's awesome for Tyler Hero, man. He definitely deserves it, man. Definitely deserves it.
Yep.
Heck of a season. But yeah, Matt, it's just one of those things where if I'm the front office, and like I said, I don't know when they got the hunch of he was going to be leaving, but I don't think it was this week.
Mm.
And I think it was a little bit before that. And at some point, just like, I would, when people would ask me if Fox can be a franchise guy or if he's staying or whatever, it was kind of like, it almost felt like it was on a hope and a prayer, looking back on it. If they knew at some point that, like, hey, the only thing really keeping him here is an all NBA possibility. If that's gone, probably going to leave. Like I said, I'm just giving a scenario. Yeah, man, they probably should have been taking calls at that point. And that's the unfortunate thing about it. And that's, where I wish they'd have a talk and like kind of get on the same page. Maybe they feel like they already have. But no vagueness. Like, let's not lie to each other. Let's not play no games. Like, do you want to be here? Are there things that realistically we can do to keep you here, or are you already gone? And if you're already gone, let us know so we can try to move forward and do what we can as a franchise.
Well, that's where I think De'Aaron has made it clear or asked, maybe not directly in terms of asking directly in front of the media, but we don't know what goes behind closed doors. The Kings have needed the same things that De'Aaron Fox has been looking for. Now, one thing that you said multiple times, Casey, that I actually 100% agree with is like, Fox, how much more do you need? Right? You got DeRozan, you've got Sabonis, Keegan's a good, like, this starting five is really, really good and features a handful of players that Fox was involved in the decision making of bringing in. You guys laid up how DeMar DeRozan wasn't someone that Fox like recruited, but DeRozan chose Sacramento in part to play with Fox. The Kings traded for Domantas Sabonis in part to pair Sabonis with Fox. Although one misconception that I'm seeing from a lot of people, the Kings didn't trade Tyrese Halliburton to choose Fox over Tyrese. The Kings traded Tyrese Halliburton because Tyrese's value was astronomically higher than Fox on a brand new contract when Tyrese was an exciting, high upside young player on a rookie scale deal that a team would have contractual control over for 4 to 8 years, right? That's why Tyrese Halliburton was moved. I don't think we'd ever get Monty McNair to say it directly. My gut feeling has always been if Monty had the chance to choose to trade De'Aaron or trade the guy that was his first ever draft pick as a general manager, the guy he chose, I think he would have traded De'Aaron and chose Tyrese. Not that it's the wrong choice or whatever. I think Monty made the move that he had to move in that time, and it was a fantastic move getting Domantas Sabonis here. But to me, you still have had this lingering issue, especially with the second unit. Your starting five is clearly established. Keon Ellis has turned into something fantastic, which the front office does deserve credit for finding him in the first place. But you have clear holes, clear size issues that De'Aaron has been saying, we need to address these, because De'Aaron and Mike were very in line in what they wanted to do and how they wanted this roster to go. Mike was probably saying the things that De'Aaron was thinking too and feeling as well. And the front office repeatedly dragged their feet and failed to do it and acted surprised when nothing changed. Nothing, like, this team is unbelievably talented. Offensively, we know they're very, very gifted. But they still have the same exact problem they had 2 years ago. And at the surface, even if the talent has improved, to say that they have the same problem over the course of 2.5 years or however long it's been that the Beam team has been around, that means you're not growing. That means you're not improving, while the rest of the West has and is.
Matthew, you laid all of this out. You kind of laid out all of why this is happening. What do you think happens now? We are 1 week from the trade deadline. The rumors of John Collins are still very much out there. The Cam Johnson story seems to have died a brutal and painful death. And now you have the De'Aaron Fox thing hovering over all of this. 7 days. Everyone is playing nice together right now. What do you think happens over the course of the next 7 days?
The scenario that I laid out of how I would advise Vivek and what I would do if I were making decisions, I don't think is happening.
Okay.
I just think the writing's on the wall. I think, and from just conversations that I've had, whispers, and there's more smoke building up today, and at any point something can go down. Like I would be very surprised if De'Aaron Fox is on this team after the trade deadline. Guys, I'd be surprised at this point if we see De'Aaron Fox in a Kings jersey in the Golden One Center again. The Kings have one game remaining before the trade deadline against Orlando next week. I would be surprised if Fox is a King that night. I think we're going to be looking at Malik Monk as the starting point guard and the primary ball handler of the future in that game, just based off of a mixture of gut feeling and conversations that I've had. That's where I feel like I'm at. It's not what I want to happen, but that's where I feel like we're at this point. I think that's more likely than anything else.
Okay. De'Aaron Fox.
And do you feel that way more so because that's what you're hearing may go down, or just you feel like that's better? Like if he wants to leave and he's letting you know, like, hey, I'm probably not going to resign here, do you think the value of trading him right now before the trade deadline is probably what should push that Kings front office and Vivek to making that deal before the deadline?
I think the way that I want to do it, holding him through the rest of the season and having a different front office handle this decision, I think that's the right way to do it. I don't think, like, believing what I believe about De'Aaron and having covered him his entire career here in Sacramento, and the guy's not a friend. The guy is, I've had conversations with him about basketball, not without basketball. I don't know who De'Aaron Fox is as a person to the level where I can speak confidently on who he is as a person necessarily. But from what I believe De'Aaron Fox to be and everything that he has shown me over his 8 years here in Sacramento is that he's a fantastic teammate. He's a good guy. He's a good player. I think De'Aaron Fox would, unless the surgery is the right route to go, I don't think De'Aaron Fox is going to quit on his teammates and leave them out to dry if he doesn't get traded at this trade deadline. So I don't necessarily think you have to just rip the Band-Aid off and get it over with. But it's clear that that Rich Paul and Clutch Sports, they want De'Aaron to be traded sooner than later, because then the timer starts on the extension, right? Because you have 6 months. You have to be with your new team in 6 months. And that's a big difference, guys, because 6 months from now is off season. So he can sign an extension in the off season. Yep. 6 months from this off season is midway through, or December or January. And knock on wood, God forbid, right? If he starts the season and isn't eligible to start his extension yet on San Antonio Spurs or whoever he's traded to, and God forbid, or he gets hurt, something serious, God forbid, right? Like, that's what these players think about. You want the longevity, you want the security. So they want to get this deal done now. And I think the Kings will try to do what's right by De'Aaron.
That's crazy.
James Harden, Anthony Edwards, Anthony Davis are the first three selections.
And let me say this: I don't think he should be an all-star. James Harden has had a really good season this year, but he shouldn't be an all-star. Or maybe I should say he's had a better season than I expected him to have. All-star, no.
He's had a fine season.
Yeah.
We'll see what this next name is before I ask Matt my next question. Shaquille O'Neal. He said from the Memphis Grizzlies, Jaren Jackson Jr.
Oh, yeah. The bonus is cooked. Nope.
No
shot.
You don't think De'Aaron is the Sacramento King when De'Aaron Fox, one-time All-Star, Jaren Jackson too. You don't think De'Aaron Fox is a Sacramento King when the Kings return to the Golden One Center? What about Kevin Huerter?
Oh God,
or Trey Lyles, or any of that other group that we've talked about.
It's got to be Kevin Huerter, right? Because of the $16 million. Like, you just need to move that in order to get, if it's John Collins or Cam Johnson or insert magical player here. Like, regardless of if you keep Fox or trade Fox, if you really want to seriously compete, I think you have to make another move on top of that this season. So I don't think Kevin Huerter will be here after the trade deadline. Let's put it that way. But I'm also, I think, trying to manifest that. Not because I hate Kevin Huerter or anything like that, but because the Kings need to do something else. Right. I put this out there, and I understand short term it's kind of controversial. I don't know if the Sacramento Kings would be even a better team than the San Antonio Spurs short term if they make a deal at the deadline with San Antonio.
Do you think
Wait, say that one more time.
I put this out on Twitter, and I think you guys reacted to it on the show. I am not convinced that the Sacramento Kings would be a better team if they trade De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs for any package. Let's say it's the best case scenario, in my opinion, which is Castle, Vassell, and draft picks or whatever. I don't think the Sacramento Kings, I don't know. I'm not certain that the Kings are a better team than the San Antonio Spurs immediately. The Spurs have 2 stars. The Kings don't. Well, Sabonis is close, but as much as I love Domantas Sabonis too, Sabonis is your number 1. I think you got a problem.
I think you're wrong. I don't agree with it. You know that. I already told you.
I hope I'm wrong.
I don't agree with that.
I hope I'm wrong, but you don't have a star.
That's fine. Well, you're certainly not going to have an all-star. Let's see who the last one they're going to announce. Jalen. Oh, of course, it's Victor Wembanyama. I didn't even notice that. So Domantas Sabonis again for the second straight year will be I assume the biggest all-star snub from the San Antonio Spurs, Victor Wembanyama. Wow. Again, no one's surprised, and maybe this is. Yeah,
and you got guys like Sengun who they've had really good seasons.
Alperen Sengun made it?
He did.
Okay.
Yeah, Jalen Williams made it too. Again, guys who've had really good seasons. Jaren Jackson, okay, bro. Like, fine. James Harden. Like, Alperen Sengun's had a fine season. He got voted in because of the record of the Rockets. He's not better than Domantas Sabonis. So the all-star reserves need to be like labeled as like the all-star, like the coaches' rewards. That's what this is. These are coaches like picking players to reward, or whoever picks these players to reward them for their teams being good.
And, shout out to our guy, Tone. I know he'll do it. Start asking these coaches when they come through here, did you vote for Domantas Sabonis? Just want to know.
Well, Tone will do it, and he'll get yelled at too. God bless him, cranky-ass Greg Popovich.
Just want to know. Did you vote for Domantas Sabonis? I mean, because that's an all-star player right there. He's having an all-star season. And, the Kings are not one of the top teams in the league.
21 points per game, 14.5 rebounds. I'm sorry, I'm going to do that again. 21 points per game, league leading, 14.5 rebounds, 6.6 assists. He's shooting 61% from the field. He's shooting 48% from 3 and 77% from the free throw line. Leads the league in double-doubles, 3 straight triple-doubles, but he is not an all-star.
And this could be, unfortunately, like part of De'Aaron Fox's thinking. Like,
interestingly enough, did Tyrese Maxey not make it?
No, he didn't.
He didn't make it, right?
No, he didn't make
it. Wow.
He didn't play a lot of games either.
I guess not. He was out for a little bit.
But this may be part of like De'Aaron Fox and Rich Paul's thinking. Like, when you're in Sacramento, you're just never going to get the benefit of the doubt. It almost doesn't matter what type of numbers you're putting up. Is that fair? Is it right? No, but it's also reality. In Sacramento, it's almost like maybe you could put Portland in there too, or maybe even Utah, but it's like Sacramento's like the bottom of the totem pole, when it comes to respect for what you do in that city as an individual. And, you're never going to get your true due if you're in Sacramento. That's probably the thinking around the league, and it's hard to argue.
It's an unfortunate, and for some reason that's also leaked into guys like the concept of trading De'Aaron Fox because it's the Sacramento Kings. Now suddenly we don't have to pay the price to actually get a star to get De'Aaron. Like I'm all for, because I did this with Keegan Murray. Like, I get fan bases and stuff like that. You covet your young talent, but the idea that Stephon Castle is an untouchable in a De'Aaron Fox trade, it's like, then why the hell do you want De'Aaron Fox in the first place? You already got your point guard to pair with Victor. Then just bow out. If Stephon Castle is not available in a De'Aaron Fox trade, what the hell you need De'Aaron Fox for?
Right. Yep.
It's crazy.
Jaren Jackson averages 8 less rebounds, 4 less assists, and 1.5 more points than Domantas Sabonis. Now they'll bark about his defense, except the Memphis Grizzlies are averaging like 123 points per game or something like that. All right, it's whatever. We knew he wasn't going to make it, and this is why. And Matt, we had a theory. As Jesse's going to shut us down here in a second. The reason all of this is happening is because De'Aaron knows he's not making All NBA. Like that much is clear. 40 some odd games into the season, he's not making All NBA. Now is the time to get out, and that's why this is what it is right now.
Yeah. It's hard to accept that. I think also part of the realization too is that this team isn't doomed. There's a reality. There's a possibility that you could trade De'Aaron Fox and this team could still win. 100%.
Completely agree.
But I think what's hard to settle in is not just the end of the Fox era here in Sacramento. When Fox is up there statistically as one of the greatest kings of all time, there's going to be a debate on whether or not number 5 should go up in the rafters by the end of his career. I don't know where I'm at on that yet. I don't even want to think about it yet. But this is also an acknowledgement that this team has failed, right? And we came into this. If I had told you guys in September that Mike would be gone 30 games in and De'Aaron Fox would be traded at the trade deadline, boy, imagine we would have been putting fires out in the studio.
Yeah, but can we end on this? You've already fired Mike. De'Aaron wants out. What other award did they get that year?
Executive of the year.
Clean house.
Deuces.
Clean house.
Okay. We're going to leave. I assure everyone Hooters was not in the rundown today. So we will see you. Matt, great stuff as always. Locked on Kings, ABC 10. Great stuff from our guy, Matt George. We will